Senator Urquhart.
Thank you, Mr Deputy President. I rise to take note of answers from Minister Wong on the government's asylum seeker policy. I firstly need to take umbrage at the continual use of the term illegal arrivals and illegal immigrants and the like. In using these terms, the opposition show their true colours in this debate. They highlight that they are interested only in perpetuating the fear of the unknown that unfortunately abounds in sections of our community. This government is committed to continuing to break the people smuggling trade. We are committed to stopping people from getting on boats to make a very dangerous journey to Australia, and we are committed to an orderly migration program. The government sought to implement the Malaysia Agreement, but this place voted it down. We then moved to seek recommendations from an expert panel chaired by former Chief of Defence Force Angus Houston. The Houston report includes numerous pieces of evidence gathered by the trio of people who worked on that inquiry. Air Chief Marshal Houston, Mr Aristotle and Professor Lestrange provided clear recommendations to the Parliament in their report. The government said at the time of announcing the review that to break the policy impasse, we would accept the recommendations of this review in full. This has seen the government work through an extraordinarily difficult process looking at thousands of people in need, people seeking help from a rich country like Australia, and those opposite seek to demonise these people. The Houston Inquiry report recommended action that was very different to what was put forward by the Pacific Solution. The report drew clear differentiation between what was happening in the past and what their recommendations said. The government committed to come back into this place and implement what was said in the Houston Inquiry report. Senators need to pay close attention to the whole of the Houston Inquiry report. You need to look closely at all of the recommendations as a package, as a process to achieving regional cooperation, as a process to stopping people from getting on leaky boats and risking their lives, as a process to increasing Australia's humanitarian intake of refugees. We've committed to implementing the recommendations as a suite. We continue to do so. It has been constantly stated that you cannot just choose elements of the recommendations. You can't pick and choose the politically expedient ones. You've got to look at all the processes, all the steps, and we've got to ensure that they work together. You cannot just exclaim 3 specific policies to be the silver bullets to this difficult policy issue. Labor will continue to look at the issues of those who seek asylum and work to ensure that people are treated with dignity and respect. In doing so, we want to remove incentives to take the decision to go onto these dangerous boats and to leave their place of refuge and face an unknown future. But this process will need to be the commitment of all the people in this parliament. We need to appreciate the desperation of the people who are caught up in the horror of seeking asylum. What those opposites seek to do is to demonise the people who are seeking asylum. On this note, I congratulate the producers of the television series Go Back to Where You Came From. This show took 6 high-profile Australians, including former Coalition Minister for Defence Mr Peter Ruth. The 6 Australians faced intense danger on the streets of some of the world's most dangerous cities. 3 were taken to the capital of Somalia, Mogadishu. The other 3 to Kabul, capital of Afghanistan. All 6 experienced time inside the walls of the Christmas Island Detention Centre. All 6 took part in a voyage on a wooden fishing boat south from the Indonesian coastline. But most importantly, this show put these 6 high-profile Australians in direct contact with asylum seekers both in Australia and across the world. It showed the desperation of the people who want a better life free from persecution. It showed that the baseless attacks from many of those opposite on these people can be combated through conversation, through basic dialogue about humanity. The desperation of the people who take to these boats is admitted across the board. The government is committed to a process to seek to break the people smugglers' trade. That's why we commissioned the Houston report, and we're seeking to implement the suite of recommendations to achieve a regional framework for assisting refugees. We need to stop the dangerous rhetoric of turning back the boats.
Thank you, Senator Urquhart. Your time has expired.